I'm here talking about today some technology that we're using for deployment in Africa. The big issue in Africa is that there's a lot of major disease issues and a lot of yield loss that could be easily controlled by simply having some seed coating technology, adding some either disease control or micronutrients or fertilizer around the seed or around the tuber or whatever is planted, the corn. And those aren't available now currently in Africa. In the United States, a lot of the seed coating technology is bundled with genetics, with the seed itself. And companies sell these things bundled together. My goal is to create a seed coating technology that's unbundled from first world genetics. So farmers in Africa can use their land races, the crops they're comfortable with, but still create a system in which they have access and can use modern seed coating technology. So what we've done is working with a group of nematologists and a group of material scientists in our fiber departments, as well as myself as a virologist, and created what we call a wrap and plant seed technology. It's based on actually the ancient paper making technology. What the idea is for it to form a company or an operation in Africa where we make paper out of very standard material. Actually, what we've shown is banana is the best source of cellulose, and make paper out of that. And after you make the paper, load on specific chemicals. And the one we're really looking as a demonstration project for this platform is abamectin, which is a very effective, safe, biologically created nematicide. But it's really not, it's not soluble. And what we're trying to do is combine that with the cellulosic matrix technology to protect yams, sweet potatoes, and other big tuber crops. So the idea is to create something we call a wrap and plant technology, where we create a sheet or a bag or something like that that is basically a paper with very specific properties with the chemical technology, with the abamectin incorporated into it, and then you just wrap the tuber, plant it in the ground, and then go through your normal production practices. So we've been doing field trials with this. We've done a lot of work back in the laboratory in the United States on creating a paper mix or a paper recipe that creates a paper that has the right tensile strength, burst properties, in other words, that is strong enough to last in the field for the growing season, but also weak enough to allow the roots and shoots to grow through it. And so we worked on that technology for the last couple of years. We've been doing field trials in both Western and Eastern Africa with yams and potatoes. And what we're showing is that this technology is working very well. We're getting 25 to 30% yield increases when we make the paper and do the wrap and plant of these tubers. One interesting serendipitous observation is that actually abamectin, the chemical we're actually targeting for this, incrementally increases the yield and of the tubers at the end of the growing season, but actually a large portion of this improvement and this increase in yield is actually resident in the paper itself. It seems like either there's a barrier effect or something else that we don't yet understand, but the fact is that if you wrap these tubers in these cellulosic paper with its very specific properties, that we get a really improved effect. We're increasing these field trials throughout Africa. We're increasing the field trials beyond tuber crops and looking at seed coating technologies as well. So at this point in time, it's really quite effective. We're optimizing the strategy now. We're also thinking about adding other chemistry other than a nematicide. We're talking about micronutrients, some fertilizers, maybe fungicides, and use this as a platform to create a seed coating technology, which will improve the germinating and growing plant through the early stages of the growth process when it's most susceptible, and when disease occurs, it has a bigger impact. As maybe stated a moment ago, the idea here is to provide African agriculture with seed coating technology. The problem is that if a plant is subjected to stress, lack of nutrients or affected by diseases very, very early on in the germination, after the germination process, those effects are compounded as the plant grows. If you get a disease later on when the plant's mature and the fruit is nearly completely filled out, your yield loss isn't that high. But if you can protect the plant very early on in these processes and keep them from dying and allow them to yield and produce, you have a really large knock-on effect. So we really want to go to the beginning and look at this thing, at protection early on in the process. The state-of-the-art of seed coating technology is very high, both with tubers and with seeds. Most modern seeds are seed coated, and they have maybe 7 to 10 different products on them to promote growth, to have fertilizer associated with them, and again to have various pesticides on them to protect against fungi, nematodes, and bacteria and the things like that. So the state-of-the-art is very high and very sophisticated. What we're trying to do is take that protection, that knowledge, and translate it to Africa. This is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Their goal is not only to solve the problem, but to solve the problem for Africa in an African way. So really what they would like to see us do is create a technology that can be completely transported to Africa and produced in country or on the continent. And so that's why we kind of went to this paper making technology. Paper making is an ancient classic technology. There's a lot of paper making skills and companies scattered throughout Africa. So really what we try to do is create a paper based on banana that has properties that we need to make it ideal for as a seed coating, but still very easy to make. Banana is very available form of fiber in Africa, and create a formula, a process that is easy to replicate under African conditions, under African manufacturing conditions. And so that's what we've been working on. And then what we would then be adding, if we do add chemistry or extra technology to it, it would be as part of a recipe. You would make the paper, then add a small vial or aliquot of a stable chemistry that would be incorporated into the paper making. They would make the paper. This would be dry, a shelf-stable product that can be used for seeding and wrapping. So again, we're trying to translate some of this great technology to the African situation for Africa. So we've been doing these field trials for a couple of years now. We had a 2015 field trial. We did a 2016 field trial, and we're now working on 2017 field trials. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're trying to optimize the system. We have great increases in yield as a result of protecting these plants early on in their life cycle, but we need to optimize the paper making. We need to see what chemistries are best suited and best needed for particular regions in Africa, particularly Benin and in Kenya, where we're doing our field trials now. And we also discovered that during this, as one of the controls, we made this wrap-in plant paper without the added chemistry, and it was nearly as effective as with the chemistry. This is a very interesting effect. It's reproducible. It's been repeated in several countries and many different conditions. We need to understand that so we can make sure that we can optimize that effect in the mechanism, whatever it might be, as we develop this improved paper making process. We're pretty proud of this work because we really do have a goal of solving world hunger and improving the lives of everybody, not only in the United States and in the United Kingdom, but everywhere else in the world, trying to making farmers self-sufficient. This is particularly attractive to me personally in my research because the Hutton Institute has a great number of fantastic plant pathologists, nematologists, and agriculturalists. And as I try to expand this technology beyond nematology, there's really some opportunities to collaborate with the folks here at the Hutton Institute to be able to improve this technology and make it better than it is now.